Hello dear boys of class 10. Welcome to English second paper class of academic English brought to you by this online platform. How are you all? I hope all of you are staying well and healthy by the grace of Almighty. This is Simi Dango, lecturer in English, St. Gregory's High School and College. Dear boys, in our previous lectures, we have been discussing about transformation of sentences. Actually, in several classes, we have been discussing about transformation of sentences, and we have successfully finished our discussion about changing sentences from affirmative to negative and vice versa. And we have also finished our discussion about changing sentences from affirmative to negative and vice versa. And in our last lecture, we have been discussing about changing sentences from affirmative to exclamatory. Dear boys, today we are going to discuss changing sentences from exclamatory to assertive. Dear students, maybe you are facing some problem because I'm recording this video from my laptop. Because of some trouble, I can't play the screen recorder. That's why I'm recording this video through my mobile phone from my computer. Okay, so please adjust. And sorry for this type of inconvenience. Okay, so now let's move to our lesson. Dear boys, we usually change sentences from exclamatory to affirmative. We usually use this rule. Firstly, we have to write down the subject, then verb, article, then very. After that, adjective will be written, and then rest of the sentences will be written. Okay, so now let's see an example. Okay, so what a beautiful scene it is. What a beautiful scene it is. This is an exclamatory sentence. Okay, now what do we need to do? Now we are going to change the exclamatory sentence into affirmative. Okay, so firstly we have to write down the subject. Which one is subject here? It is the subject. It is the subject, and is the verb. Okay, so it is, and here we have an article. It is a. Okay, it is a, and after that we have to write down very according to the structure. It is a very, then adjective. Beautiful is the adjective. It is a very beautiful scene. Okay, so the answer is, now let's take this out. It is a very beautiful scene, right? Okay, here we have another example. Let's read this example. What a stupid he is. What a stupid he is. Okay, this is also an exclamatory sentence. So we are going to change this exclamatory sentence into assertive following the rules. Okay, following this structure. What is our subject here? He is the subject and is the verb. He is stupid, and article should be written here. Okay, a is the article, and here you see stupid is the adjective, and for stupid we are going to write down great, not very. Okay, so we are going to write down he is a great stupid. Okay, so dear boys, for stupid we have written great, not very. Okay, he is a great stupid, right? So now let's move to the next rule. So here you see If we have hurrah in our exclamatory sentence, then we have to follow this structure to change sentences from exclamatory to assertive. Okay, dear boys, if we have hurrah in our exclamatory sentence, then we have to follow this structure to change the sentences from exclamatory to assertive. So the structure is subject, rejoice, rejoice that, and then rest of the sentences after hurrah, right? So let's see what we have here. So here we have an example. Hurrah, I have won the first prize. Hurrah, I have won the first prize. Okay, so now we are going to write down the affirmative form of this exclamatory sentence. So firstly, we have to write down the subject, and we should not use hurrah in our affirmative sentence. Okay, so firstly, we are going to write down the subject. I is the subject. So I, and after that for hurrah, we are going to write down rejoice that. I rejoice that I have won the first prize. I have won the first prize. Okay, I rejoice that I have won the first prize. I rejoice that I have won the first prize. Now let's check the sentence with the structure. So subject is written, rejoice that is written, and rest of the sentences is written. Okay, I rejoice that I have won the first prize, and exclamation of sign is not given here. Instead of exclamation sign, we have given a full stop. Okay, so here we have another example. Hurrah, we are successful. Hurrah, we are successful. Okay, so we are going to follow the same structure. So we is the subject here. We, and according to the structure, rejoice that, we rejoice that, and we should write down the rest of the sentences. So rest of the sentence is we are successful. We rejoice that we are successful. Okay, we rejoice that we are successful. Okay, so now let's move to the next example. Okay, in rule number 3 we have another structure. So dear boys, if we have this type of sentence, exclamatory sentence, like if I were a bird, or if I were an astrologer, if I were a child, if we have this type of sentences, that means if we have if in our exclamatory sentence, then how to change this type of exclamatory sentence into assertive? Firstly, we have to write down the subject. Then we have to write down wish. Then rest of the sentences will be written after if. Okay, what are we going to do? We have to write down the subject first, then we have to write down wish, rest of the sentences after if. Okay, so here we have an example. If I were a bird, if I were a bird, then how to write down the answer? Firstly, we have to write down the subject. I is the subject. Okay, then we have to write down wish. I wish. Then we have to follow the rest of the sentences. I wish I were a bird. I wish I were a bird. Okay, now we have another example. Dear boys, look at to this example. If I were an astrologer, if I were an astrologer. Okay, so dear boys, we are going to follow the same structure. I wish I were an astrologer. Firstly, we have written the subject. Wish, we have written wish. and after that rest of the sentences. We have written rest of the sentences. I wish I were an astrologer. Okay, very easy. Dear boys, now try to do by yourself. If I say, if I were a bird, how to change this sentence from exclamatory to assertive? If I were a bird, or if I were a rich man, if I were a king. Say, if I were a king. How to change this type of exclamatory sentence into assertive? Yes, I wish I were a king. I wish I were a king. Okay, if we have a sentence like if I were a child, then how to change? I wish I were a child. I wish I were a child. Okay, so here we have another rule. So if we have had in our exclamatory sentence, then if we have had in our exclamatory sentence, then how to change this type of sentence from exclamatory to affirmative? How to change this type of sentence from exclamatory to assertive? So we are going to follow this structure. Firstly, we have to write down the subject. Then we have to write down wish. And after that, we have to write down the subject. And then had will be written. Then rest of the sentences will be written. Okay? Rest of the sentence will be written. Okay? So here you see, here we have an example. Had I been an industrialist, had I been an industrialist. Okay, so here you see, had is written here, had is written here. So dear boys, would you mind trying to write down the answer? Okay, I'm waiting for you. Try to write down the answer following this structure. Okay, after that I will try you to write the correct answer. Okay, firstly try by yourself. Had I been an industrialist? Okay, try to write down the answer following this instruction. Okay, dear students, now let's try to write down. Okay, I hope you have written the correct answer. Okay, what is our subject here? The subject is I, right? So we are going to write down I first, and after that, according to the structure, we are going to write down wish. I wish. Okay, then again subject will be written I wish I. Okay, then we have to write down had. Okay, I wish I had. Okay, then rest of the sentence, been an industrialist. Okay, the correct answer is I wish I had been an industrialist. Okay, so the correct answer is I wish I had been an industrialist. Very easy, isn't it? So dear boys, here we have another example. Would you mind trying to write down the correct answer? Okay, now it's your turn. Pause the video for a while, think by yourself and try to write down the answer. Here is an example of exclamatory sentence. What you need to do, you have to write down the assertive form of this exclamatory sentence following the structure. Okay, here you are given a structure. If you have had in exclamatory sentence, then you have to write down the answer. You have to write down the assertive sentence following rule number 4. So rule number 4 is subject, wish. Again, subject will be written had, and extension or rest of the subject will be written. Okay, I'm waiting for your answer. Pause the video and try to write down. Okay, dear boys, now let's try to write down the answer. So I is the subject, so we are going to write down I first. I. Okay, I wish, then I had been a child again. So the correct answer is I wish I had been a child again. I wish I had been a child again. So dear students, if we want to change from the sentences from assertive to exclamatory, then we will follow the same structure. Okay, only what we need to do, only we have to reverse the rules. How? If we say I wish I had been a child, then how to change this assertive sentence into exclamatory? Firstly, we have to write down had, and after that we have to write down the subject, and we have to write down the verb. Okay, been. Okay, and after that we have to write down the rest of the sentence. For I wish I had been a child again, we have to write down had I been a child again. Okay, very easy. If we have I wish I had been an industrialist, we have to write down had I been an industrialist. So we will follow the okay. So to change the sentence from assertive to exclamatory, having the word if. Okay, so if we have this type of sentences, I wish I were an astrologer, I wish I were an astrologer, or I wish I were a bird, then we have to write down if first. Firstly, we have to write down if, and after that we will write down, we will follow the we will write down the rest of the sentences only. Okay, so you see, I wish I were an astrologer, I wish I were an astrologer. So you have to write down if I were an astrologer, if I were an astrologer, and you should not use wish in exclamatory sentence. If I were an astrologer. And for I wish I were a bird, you have to write down if I were a bird, if I were a bird. Okay, dear students. Okay, so dear students, that's all for today. Since I am providing this class through virtual platform or online platform, maybe you will find some problem while watching the video. So I request you all to feel free to ask me if you find any type of problem while watching the video. Okay, so I apologize to you because of the resolution. Since my laptop is not okay, that's why I am recording this video through my mobile phone from my computer. Okay, I can't play screen recorder. So dear boys, please adjust, and if you find any problem, feel free to ask me. So dear boys, take care of yourself, take care of your family members, help your youngers in their studies, and also help them to be a very good human being, and you also study attentively. Okay, and help your mother in cooking, and help your other family members in other activities. Okay, So finish your lesson regularly and do not neglect your lesson. Always stay safe and always try to follow the hygiene rules. So, dear boys, take care. Thanks to you all.